And so here we have increased mortality among people with anxiety disorders. Now, I just want you to know, I just grabbed these. These are the first two studies that showed up when I put into Google mortality and anxiety. These are the first two studies. There are hundreds of studies. They're all over. Okay. Some of them give worse odds than this. However, these are the first two I came across. This is from 2018. Anxiety, by the way, is dramatically more prevalent since the pandemic, the COVID pandemic. Huge increases, tripling of the number of anxiety diagnoses, and also a similar increase in the number of depression diagnoses. And again, more people will die from the anxiety and the depression than will die from the virus itself. So the risk of death by natural and unnatural causes, that's an interesting one, right? Was significantly higher among individuals with anxiety disorders. So natural mortality rate, heart attacks, stroke, cancer, 39% higher rate of death from all cause versus people that were not diagnosed with anxiety. Unnatural mortality rate ratio, 2.46, that's 2.5 times the rate of the baseline for people without anxiety. So this could be car accidents, which is not a natural. It could be suicide. It could be anything that's not expected because of an illness. Those who died from unnatural causes, 16.5% had comorbid diagnoses of depression. I probably won't get into it today. I may, but how anxiety and depression support each other physiologically, how the hormones in our systems, the neurotransmitters in our system, that once we have been in a state of depression for a certain period of time, that anxiety is much easier to happen. When we've been in a state of anxiety for a certain period of time, then depression is more likely to happen. At any rate, here, the MMR, right, which is the mortality rate ratio, was 11.72. That means it was 12 times, almost 12 times more likely, people were 12 times more likely to die if they had anxiety and depression than if they did not have anxiety, depression. Now, I want to see a show of hands. How many of you, given that number, think it would be worth getting rid of or controlling your anxiety? Okay, not everybody, but that's a pretty good list. Now, everybody, raise your hands if you think it would be worth getting rid of depression. Now, depression's a tricky one. A lot of people that have depression really are not aware of it. And so a lot of people with depression, we look primarily at two different primary types of depression. Now, there's a huge range, a huge gamut of issues, but primarily I'm looking at, do you have a lot of negative self-talk? Like, I'm worthless, I just screwed up again. Nothing I do works out, that kind of stuff. Or do you have more where you just don't want to get off the couch? It's like, yeah, I have to go to the bathroom and then I need to go to work and I don't want to do anything. I'm just going to lay here, right? So that unwillingness, that lack of motivation. And those are really different issues in many ways. Now, sometimes they go together, right? You have this negative self-talk. Well, usually it's that you don't want to do anything. You have no motivation, and then you start developing negative self-talk about that. So both of those can occur. In general, and again, this is very gross, the negative self-talk tends to be more of a serotonin issue, and the I don't want to get off the couch, I have no motivation, tends to be more of a dopamine deficiency. Now, dopamine is the precursor for both epinephrine and norepinephrine. So those are two of the major anxiety neurotransmitters. As you know, when there's anxiety, your cortisol levels will go up. Cortisol stimulates the blood sugar system, pulls more blood sugar into your bloodstream, which will increase your heart rate. It will give you greater stamina, etc. Epinephrine will directly stimulate your heartbeat. It'll make your heartbeat faster and stronger. Norepinephrine doesn't get as much press. Norepinephrine pulls the blood out of the interior of the body, the stomach, the ovaries, the uterus, etc., and pumps it into your extremities, your hands, your feet, and also up into your head so that your brain is more awake so that you can recognize the danger and either fight it or run away from it, okay? So over time, if you're utilizing too many of those hormones for anxiety, you will eventually have low dopamine, and then you'll have depression. And so then if you have depression with low dopamine, which is, just no motivation, I just don't care, I don't want to get off the couch, let the world pass me by, eventually you're probably going to develop negative self-talk and low serotonin. So this is kind of the pattern. This is this circular pattern. And if you can break it at anxiety, you're going to be infinitely better off in your life.